That sounds great.
Fabulous. I love that I get to use a mic.
Are you just used to miking in karaoke times, or do you use a mic when you do events?
I'm usually behind the scenes.
Okay, you don't do any front-facing part of the event. You're just walking around.
No, even though I have volunteered myself.
Do you wanna? Are you low key, like secretly, you want to be the MC of events?
Fuck yeah, dude. 100%. I love the stage. But like at the same time, it makes me extremely nervous. Like I'm so enthusiastically gonna sign myself up for something like that.
Sure.
But then when it comes to it, I'm like, oh, fuck my life. I'm so nervous. I'm so nervous. I'm so nervous. Why did I do this to myself? And that's how I feel whenever I start a show at the film festival. I'm like, okay, why did I do this? But then it's fine. Hi, my name's Alexandra Mann, and I'm drinking. I'm drinking a cold brew with a lot of water because I didn't have much cold brew left. Patrick laughed at me when I added so much water.
It was a lot of water.
It was just water and some oat milk. Yep, that's my beverage of choice today, but just because it's kind of what I had.
Oh, I love it.
What are you drinking?
I'm just drinking water. I have
That's
a glass
boring.
that you said that you
That's
were
boring.
excited to give me
Oh my
and
god,
use.
you know what, Patrick?
So,
Patrick was
tell
meant
me.
to be drinking a hot coffee that I was meant to make for him, and you know what? It's still fucking sitting in the Keurig.
I love it.
I'm sorry. You'll get it eventually.
Do you like Keurig? Are you a Keurig? Are you a instant coffee person?
No.
Okay.
But my roommate is, and that's her Keurig.
Okay.
I'm not a hot coffee gal. I have some Keurig pods if I run out of my cold brew.
Okay.
But I also like regular coffee doesn't cut it for me anymore. I need the ultimate strength.
You need something stronger
Hell yeah.
than just regular coffee.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's stronger than regular coffee? What's the
Cold brew.
maximum? Oh, cold brew.
Cold brew. Yeah.
I don't know if the water's helping that.
Like sometimes when I'm at work, they have coffee machines and I make you can choose the strength of your espresso. And when I first started, I was a bit crazy. Like I was like, wow, options. I love caffeine. So I loaded max strength, like triple espresso and made it a latte. And honestly, like, I know people say that coffee makes you anxious, but I'm anxious anyway.
Sure.
I'm sure it's not helping, but I don't really feel that. I really, yeah.
I resonate with that.
It's
I
a
feel like I
crutch.
drank so much coffee. I started drinking coffee really early in life because all of my family drank
Yeah.
black coffee.
I
Just
started drinking coffee early too.
straight
Same,
black hot coffee
Same.
at the
Same.
diner. That's where we would go and
My
we would
parents
do.
as well, yeah.
And I feel like there was the time. So when we first started the John Chi show, we would record that at night, and I, for probably the first like 4 months, had a cup of hot coffee at like 8 p.m. And people were like, "What are you
Whoa.
drinking?"
Okay,
Yeah. But
so-
I don't. But like to your point, I don't feel it. I don't think that I feel it in that way. I can go to
Right.
sleep at 9.
So that's not me,
I
but
thought you were gonna say that's not normal.
I sincerely respect it. Like, but I have it to make me feel awake because in the morning, like,
Sure.
I'm not feeling refreshed. I don't know why people are saying, like, you know, sleep makes you feel refreshed. I know it's meant to, but I just feel worse when I wake up.
I know it's meant to. That is hilarious.
And coffee, like, helps me start my day.
Sure.
Like, it's something to look forward to in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if anybody listening was not aware, I'm currently not in my kitchen.
No.
Switching the game up already.
Mhm.
Can you tell me where I am right now?
Yes. You are in Greenpoint, Brooklyn, in New York City. And in my kitchen. Yeah.
In your kitchen.
Yeah.
Um.
Which I'm lucky to have in a New York City apartment because
Yeah.
this is very rare. Usually it's like blended in with the living room.
Well, I was gonna say this is a very like segmented apartment in the
Yeah.
way that you wouldn't
Yeah.
necessarily think. Single? Is this like a one bedroom is considered?
Two
or is there a
bedroom.
two-bedroom
Two
here?
bedroom.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a roommate.
In the heart of the city, kind of,
Our
or in the
friend
heart of this neighborhood.
Lindsay, that you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
she found it on Street Easy. Yeah.
What is Street Easy? Is that just an apartment finder?
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you use in Indy?
Apartments.com? Zillow?
Oh, that
Zillow.
makes sense. Okay.
Zillow.
Yeah.
I think you can find to buy and to rent on there.
Okay.
So I
yeah,
think most people
you
do
can.
Zillow.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Do you consider, how long have you lived in New York?
I've been here for like 6.5 years now.
Okay.
I grew up in Hong Kong, and before I moved to New York, I was in Canada, in Vancouver specifically, for like 6.5 years.
Okay.
Where I did my undergrad and my master's.
Okay.
And then I moved here, yeah.
So you've now been here about the same amount of time you were in Vancouver?
Which is so insane. Like, I do not feel like that at all.
Sure. What's the biggest difference between this city and there?
So much. Oh my God. Literally everything.
Sure. And that's not Vancouver. Is that close to New York, or is the Vancouver far away? Is that
it's on the
west?
It's on the west coast. Yeah, it's like the furthest place to here in Canada. Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
City-wise that you could probably go. But right, I grew up in Hong Kong. It was similar to New York in a lot of ways in that it was really fast-paced. There was, I would say it was quite a materialistic place, or vibe and culture. And like, there's so much about growing up there and being an adoptee, a transracial adoptee, where my parents were, I guess, heavily in the expat community.
Okay.
Which is just like, people who move to Hong Kong, mostly white people from like, England. It was a former British colony, Australia, South Africa, etc. And moving to Vancouver really slowed me down.
Okay.
Coming from this, like, I don't know, place that felt like really hustle and bustle and competitive. There we go, competitive.
In Hong Kong.
In almost every single way you could imagine.
Sure.
It's not like that for everyone, but that's definitely how it felt to me, especially in my good adoptee phase of just wanting to be good at everything. So, I wouldn't get abandoned again.
Okay, sure.
And so Vancouver really slowed me down. It was a bit of a culture shock in that it's like, wait, what do you mean no one in Vancouver, like, cares about all these materialistic things that, like, were so ingrained to me? And, like, people in Vancouver are actually, like, gonna stick up their nose at you if you're, like, trying too hard or, I don't know, like, care about things like hierarchy or face. And so that was really good for me looking back in the long run. I really wanted to move to New York right after Hong Kong and go to college here, but I'm really like, thank God I didn't.
Yeah.
Because Vancouver was also very, like, the school I went to was a very, like, left-leaning public university in like the west coast of Canada, which is pretty progressive.
Yeah.
It was very progressive in comparison to anywhere in the States. That's how I feel anyway. And so it helped shape my worldview, and I was a social science major there, and it just helped me, like, kind of have a lens to see the world that I didn't before. Like, we never talked about any kind of social issues or politics in Hong Kong.
Okay.
And so, it was a fundamental fundamental moment in my life that really shaped who I am today, because I think I would have been a bit of a brat if I moved straight from Hong Kong to here, It just would have been the same.
What was that transition then from Vancouver to New York? Because I feel like New York is very similar in terms of pacing as Hong Kong, as you described it.
Yeah. Well, in Canada, I was like fucking running in the forest every day,
you were running the literal forest, not the concrete forest.
Like, it was very outdoorsy. I feel like I was really, like, spiritually aligned with myself by the end of it. And New York is just like go, go, go all the time. I would say the biggest thing I miss is nature and getting to I don't know, just like have peace. But New York is really fun because there's always something going on, and like you're so close. Like to me, growing up, I will say I had a bit of a fantasy about New York. I definitely saw
Sure.
it through rose tinted glasses, and I knew I always wanted to be here. To me, it was the center of the world.
Sure.
Um,
I mean, it's
and
portrayed as such a lot of times. So
100%, and I ate it up. And you're just at the heart, I think, of culture here, in America, and it's very fulfilling in that way. And I would say that it's good for me right now in that I watched a reel or a TikTok recently that was kind of saying like why New York is so great for young people who are ambitious. Like here, people are unabashedly like ambitious, like, you're not going to hide it
yeah,
in comparison to like the UK, for example, where, like if you're ambitious and you're outwardly ambitious, like it's kind of lame.
sure.
And yeah, people try to downplay it, be like, yeah. So here I acknowledge that in terms of opportunities, like I would say this is probably the city that opportunity is most accessible.
Okay.
And everyone has a side hustle, and it can be annoying. I was someone who didn't really have a side project going on, and I was like, everyone else did, and I felt really like, oh, am I doing something wrong? And there's nothing wrong with not doing that, and there's nothing wrong with just having a 9 to 5. But people are out here for a reason,
Sure.
like there's a lot of passion, and like people have a lot of drive, and people are doing really cool creative things that I feel very privileged to get to watch, like, my friends and their projects.
Totally.
But also feed off of that ambition
Right.
to fuel my own. And I don't think I would have had the drive or think I was capable of creating something like the Film Fest, for example,
Sure.
if I wasn't surrounded by it.
Sure. Like if you stayed in Vancouver, you could do creative things, but you wouldn't maybe have seen or heard other people doing it because people are a little bit more low-key about it.
Yeah, I mean I think it's still happening, but I think the
Yeah.
density of it happening here like is just unlike anywhere else.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
One of my friends and a fellow podcaster back in Indianapolis, he said one time, or his like motto in life is, if I'm not doing more than I'm supposed to, then I'm not doing enough. And I feel like when you're talking about when you see everybody that has a side hustle, it's like that's kind of the feeling I get. And I also think like it's important to name, you don't need to do
You really don't.
10 more things
No.
than what you are doing. I agree that if you have the privilege and the ability to extend beyond what you already are doing,
You're right.
then the bare minimum, then
Yeah.
yes, 100% you should be doing that.
It's a privilege.
And that's kind of what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And like a lot of people are pushed to their max right now, and it's hard to like add something else.
Totally.
To
oh my god.
To the docket.
100%. And I have been there as well.
Yeah.
And yeah.
You're there right now.
So are you.
Well, I mean, if you really wanted to look at my stuff, you could classify them as all side projects potentially. So
Absolutely
it's like I've done nothing
not.
but side projects.
No.
That's changing a little
I
bit.
actually really disagree with that.
Oh, I appreciate
right?
that.
Like
I know a lot of people probably will.
What I think is so cool about you, and what I hope, right, me following my side projects now is like, you found something you really care about and you enjoy doing, which is again a privilege, right, to be able to do that. But like you like are like, I'm really passionate about this, let's like, and then you went into the unknown, you're like, let's see if I can make this my career.
That's
and
true.
You are literally doing that.
Thank you.
And I think it's so beautiful when, again, it's a privilege, but like when you're able to like, I think the more work experience you have, right, you find out more data points. You're like, okay, this is what I like. And if you can just hone in on that and get more specific as your experience goes on, you're eventually going to land in a place where you're like, this is my dream. And I get to do this for a living. Like, that is so beautiful. And that is what I'm hoping to do as well with what I'm doing. Which, only a year into 2 years, I guess.
Yeah.
Into my side project. I really was thinking about it the other day when I was by myself in bed. Alone
Fellas or
when the
ladies.
dark thought thing like thoughts usually come. But this one was a happy one. In that, like, it was maybe the night after we had our first film festival screening for our second season. It happened this Sunday, so like a couple days ago. And I was just like, it went so well, for so many different reasons, mostly due to the fact that I have some really amazing people who've joined the team this year for the film festival. But I was just like, damn, like that I can't believe that just happened because like I helped myself get to a place that I exactly wanted to be. And I don't know what's next, but I'm going to continue like you to follow whatever that feeling is where you're just like, I'm just so happy right now. Like this is, you're creating community. You're slowly finding the people you really enjoy working with, and doing partnerships with. And as we continue on following this path, like then you're going to be surrounded, and that feels like a dream. That's a goal anyway.
Let's talk about the side project a little bit. We've talked around it, I think, and I appreciate you diving into it a little bit. But before we get too far ahead into year 2, let's talk about the origins of the film festival a little bit. Like, people listening to the show right now, there's going to be some who don't know what that is.
Totally.
I am out in Brooklyn right now for this event.
Oh my God, yeah.
So
special.
I'm gonna have you talk about it, but I'm gonna set the table because 2 years ago now, I was here, 3 years ago now, I was in New York for something. I don't know what it was, but we were all hanging out.
You were hosting, you were emceeing an event.
I was doing something. Okay, I was emceeing an event.
That's where I met you.
And we were hanging out after that. No, well, technically in person because we met on Clubhouse and we've already done this dance once before.
Yeah, we met on Clubhouse. Patrick was a Clubhouse star during the pandemic. Oh my God,
I was on Clubhouse.
What a beautiful moment.
Let's talk about nostalgia.
No,
right?
That's kind of like I feel like where you found
Very
your
true.
calling.
A little bit, a little bit doing those conversations, and definitely. But it was in that first time meeting you where we were walking. I don't remember where exactly we were walking, but it was me, you, and Ben, and
Lindsay.
I think it was just us three. I think Lindsay had split from the group because this was the first time because we were getting ready to leave.
I remember.
And this was the first time I heard you say that I think it would be really cool if we had a film festival
for adoptees.
And I was like, that would be a cool idea.
Yeah. Okay.
And
I remember
then,
that night.
4 minutes later, we split apart and we went our separate ways.
Yeah.
And then 6 months later, you were like, I think I'm gonna do this thing.
That was a really wonderful night.
It was.
I remember I had a box of dumplings attached to my carabiner, and I was like, this is the ultimate accessory.
100%.
But no, I essentially, so I guess I'll backtrack a bit how we got to even that moment. So I guess in 2021, no, 2020, the end of 2020, I learned that my parents had a letter from my birth mother. And I'm someone who always knew I wanted to do my birth search. And I thought that was going to be when I turned 18, but I was going to college and I wasn't in adoptee consciousness yet. I knew I always wanted to do it and meet her, but that learning about the letter really propelled me into that.
Quick definition break. Adoptee consciousness here means an awareness of how adoption shapes a person's identity, relationships, and worldview. It recognizes both the personal and systemic layers of the adoptee experience. To learn more, go check out the Adoptee Consciousness Model, which I will link in the show notes.
It propelled me into adoptee consciousness and kind of flipped my life upside down in a way, as it tends to do when you come into consciousness. I started my birth search as soon as I got the letter, because the letter was so beautiful. My birth mother, for context, was like 15 when she had me. And detailed in the letter so many things that I always wanted to know about myself, like the meaning of my Chinese name.
Mm.
It literally means growing up safe and sound. Like, what the hell? That's beautiful.
That'll make me cry.
And like my birth mother and my birth father were like in love and dating since they were 11. She didn't tell anyone about the pregnancy. So it was very isolating, and like, trigger warning, she did share she fell into suicidal ideation because she didn't tell anyone about the pregnancy. Her parents, her partner at the time, because it was illegal in Hong Kong to have underage sex. I shouldn't laugh, this is very but so yeah, she very much was like, I hope to meet you one day. She thought I was going to get the letter. She detailed when I was 18. I didn't. I was like 26 at the time. But I started the birth search immediately, and unfortunately, maybe like 6 months later, I heard from the social worker who was helping me in my birth search that whoever lived at the address that we mailed our outreach to asked to please not contact them again. And it's hard to say who that was, like who said that.
Sure.
But it was heartbreaking. I would say in Hong Kong, for context, a lot of like people live generationally in like the same place. I've actually visited the address on my original birth certificate, which I'm very fortunate to have as an adoptee. And they were kind of living in like council housing in Hong Kong. And yeah, so basically they said, don't reach out again. It was the hardest thing I've ever been through in my life. And I just felt so misunderstood by my non-adoptee community at the time. I didn't have adoptee community.
Sure.
Like when this all was going on, like I wasn't even, like, maybe I was in a couple of the Facebook groups.
Sure.
But like I wasn't even listening to adoptee podcasts. I was just starting to follow adoptee Instagram pages and be like, holy shit, like there's a whole world out here. But even with that, I would say it felt very isolating. And these were all like online connections, right?
Totally.
Including first becoming aware of you on Clubhouse, because we were all there, eh?
The Clubhouse days. Wild.
That was like literally when I was coming into consciousness. And so I was like mind blasted, but I also found it really hard to talk about what I was going through with anyone, and felt like people didn't know how to respond or hold space for it. And just I was feeling so angry at the time.
Yeah.
And during this time, I started to realize that a lot of the adoption narratives I was seeing on screen, like in movies and the TVs, they were really triggering, and they were kind of perpetuating certain narratives about adoption, really black and whitely.
Were there any specific ones that like stood out to you, like jumped out at you, or like, oh, yep, I'm recognizing this, and this is a problem?
Yeah, I mean, Blindside being such a good example of that. Right, that was something I watched when I was really, really young. But this white saviorism, especially for transracial adoption, where if you're adopted, you're saved kind of situation. And holy shit, this guy's life is now perfect. Look at him, he's a football star. And the good and the bad adoptee trope, I think, was just like really frustrating to me. Like I felt like I wasn't allowed to speak freely about my experience without people like being shocked at what I was saying or judging me for saying what I was saying. So I was like, I came from a background in media where I was kind of working on media strategy to help weave underrepresented narratives into TV, movies, social, etc. And so I knew that was a thing I had been doing for the last couple of years at Vice. And I had never thought about adoption. It sounds so crazy to say now, but I never thought about that being a fragment of my identity that deserved space. Because I think being a transracial adoptee, I had really only I had just come out of like a 6-year journey, I think, in college of reclaiming my racial identity.
Sure.
You know, and leaning into that. So the adoptee identity, you know, I remember my partner at the time in college asking me like, "Hey, I met this adoptee the other day," and like they had a lot of feelings and things to say about their adoptee experience. Like, I just wanted to check in, like, how do you feel about it? We've never talked about it. And I was so, for lack of the better word, in the fog or not in consciousness, that I would always, if someone asked me something like that, I'd be like, oh, I love it. Like, it's totally fine. Like, it's not an issue.
Yeah.
I'm sorry they feel like that, but I've never felt anything like that until the secret letter was revealed.
Secret letter.
And so, yeah, I had a lot of anger. I felt like, but at the same time, I felt more in touch with me than I had ever done. Because you're right, like, we were really honing in on the primary wound. What is it? What do we call it?
The primal wound.
The primal wound. Yeah, the primal wound. And I remember writing like 7 pages in my diary of all the things I felt I understood about myself now that I was leaning into exploring my adoptee identity. And with my background in media, like doing that strategy work, I really believe in the power of film and representation on screen, the mirroring that it provides to help change narratives. It really can be a substantial form of advocacy, I believe. And so when I was starting to notice all these narratives on screen and them not helping me feel understood at all, actually doing the opposite, I was like, I have to change this. And like I've said it in every single podcast I've done, but like I think it's important. Like, I was really at rock bottom when this North Star kind of came to me.
Okay.
I was literally like bawling my eyes out, like just feeling so alone, like in my childhood bedroom in Hong Kong, going through my birth search, feeling really like detached from my family at the time. We'd always been really close, and like me coming into consciousness, I felt like such a bad adoptee, and I felt like they kind of didn't know how to hold space for it yet, so kind of saw me in that way as well.
I feel that.
Yeah. So and trigger warning too, like I truly the previous day had told my therapist, like, I am starting to have thoughts of suicidal ideation, which I had never had in my life before. And so that's kind of where we were at.
Yeah.
And I just like, I can't live like this, I guess, when I was having this cry fest. And I was like, my North Star has to be advancing adoptee narratives in media, because hell no, am I gonna continue to go through life feeling this misunderstood. And by the time I told you on the street, we were on the street, we were outside by a halal cart in Manhattan. Like, I had known the North Star for years at that point.
Sure.
But the Film Fest situation came to me because I had the privilege of going to my friend Jude's film festival. They created the first transgender, queer, and non-binary film festival called Baby Teeth. Go check them out. And I had the privilege of going the 3rd year, and I was just like, this is so special. You can really feel the impact this event is having on the community, the mirroring that they're receiving through these short films. And I was like, what, I would love to create this space for adoptee stories as well, and for adoptees. So that's when the pieces kind of fell together.
Sure.
Because right, like we were talking about before, the like, they were very like really, I guess, creative people doing really cool projects here. And so that's an example of like how, I got the inspiration literally just from exposure.
Yeah, it was modeled for you.
Yeah, I would never have thought to have done that if I hadn't gone to that film festival.
Totally.
So, yeah, that's kind of how it came to be.
And now we're here in year 2. You're getting ready to kicked off. I guess as of this recording, year 2 is kicked off.
Yeah, we have a show to get to.
Yeah.
Patrick, what time is it?
It's 3:46. So
okay, that's okay. We have
we got plenty of time. I got it. I feel like every time I have my friends on a podcast that I'm doing, I learn so much about them, and I feel like a terrible friend because I feel like I should already know all of this stuff and not be doing it in a content format. You know what I mean? I don't think that anybody thinks I'm a terrible friend, and I don't really think that. But
you know what's going through my head right now?
What's going through?
I wish I could interview Patrick.
Not at all. I've done talks too much. I want to learn more about Alex.
Okay. Yeah.
But I just thank you for sharing that, because one, I think it means a lot to me to learn more about you and your story, and two, to the point of I am inspired by other people who create and do creative things and lean into their identities and who they are, and it just needs modeled.
Yeah.
Like what the way you are employing vulnerability and telling your story and being open to sharing it here, I think is a wonderful model for other people in our community, but not just them, anybody who might come across this story.
I appreciate it.
To see what it looks like to just be like, yeah, stuff sucked and stuff also didn't suck, and I've had to navigate that. Now I feel like I'm in a place where I can share that.
Right. No, 100%. Like, it's so in the past at this point now, or at least it feels like that. But it really was a project born out of a need, which I feel like you can also say for a lot of your projects, right?
Totally.
And so I do recognize how rewarding it is to have turned like literally the darkest moment in my life into something with so much light. My favorite part about the film festival is absolutely the community we've been able to cultivate, and I felt like I was really alone on this ship for a long time, and being like, I care so much about adoptees in film, blah blah blah, and it's due to early supporters like yourself, right? Like, I had only told a handful of people when I shared that with you, because it felt like a really big undertaking that I had no experience in.
Totally.
And felt underqualified to do. That we're here at all. So thank you so much for that, because without that, I couldn't do it. And so that's the thing, right? Like, the film fest I didn't know a single adoptee filmmaker in New York or in my life at the time when I started it. So it felt like a huge risk. I was like, are there my hypothesis is that there are a lot of adoptee filmmakers out there. I think they're working in silos. I don't think there's a community.
Yeah.
And we're just gonna do this and see what happens. It was a total experiment that I think luckily worked out. So it surprises me every day.
Yeah.
Right? Like how many adoptee filmmakers when they're out there. It's beautiful now that we can be a touch point for them to cultivate that community and start working together and having conversations. But it's also been so beautiful that like folks like you literally are flying in for it. Like, we have people flying all over the world for this thing. And that blows my mind. Like, I don't understand that at all, because for so long I felt so alone in this. So to get to share it and then find like-minded people who are passionate about this very niche thing, or at least what felt really niche to me at the time, it's just like, it blows my mind every day. And it's moments like tonight where we're gonna get to see that in real time and feel that energy in the room. That is just like, I still don't believe it, Patrick, and I don't know if I ever will, because it didn't exist for me for so long, or it felt like that.
Is it unbelievable that it now exists and it continues to exist, or is it unbelievable that you are the one that made
Yeah,
it happen?
the latter. I mean, both for sure, but it's hard for me to, when I see it in real life and when people are so passionate about it, like online or in person, like, and like travel far and wide for it, it's hard to place me at all within the project.
Sure.
Like my mom last night I was FaceTiming her and she's like, "You're all over," like I told her like I'm not going to be hosting the live stream this year. Like you won't be seeing my face. She was very disappointed about that. And but she was like, "But you're all over the project." So I do know that. And that's like mind blasting to me. Like obviously I'm the one working on it
Yeah.
year round. Probably the most, though I am so fortunate now to have so much support and help and people who want to join us and volunteer, which has been life changing and is helping to make it a sustainable thing. But yeah, it's hard for me to place myself at all within something that I feel like is so much bigger than me now. I've never led anything like this, you know? I've only ever worked in teams.
Sure.
And so to be a founder of anything, I think is a very weird concept that I'm not quite used to yet.
Sure.
And it surprises me whenever my name is attached to it because it's hard to even be proud of it because that's how detached I feel from it. That's how hard I have. That's how much of a hard time I have seeing myself within it at all, which is so weird. And don't I'm sure I'm going to talk to my therapist a lot. I already have so many times, but I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Maybe extreme underconfidence, but it's just incredible. I don't believe it. Like,
Would you say that is the biggest challenge now in year 2, this detachment that you feel, or is there a biggest challenge that you feel like you're faced right now in year 2?
I would say that has a lot to do with how challenging it is. I was expecting nothing last year, right? I was like,
Didn't you sell tickets out in like the first 24 hours?
we did, and I still don't believe that at all. But yeah, right. Like when I started, didn't know any adoptee filmmakers. The fact we got 33 submissions from 7 countries in the world, like in the first year,
Insane.
is just it's insane. I was like, okay, so there are ample adoptee filmmakers out there. Noted.
We got it.
And that's
We got
so
a list
wonderful.
now.
I really didn't know that. And I was expecting to not sell out at all. I thought like we'd be lucky if we had like maybe like 30 people there.
Yeah.
And so the response was so much bigger than I could have ever anticipated. Like we only had one show initially booked for that first year, and when we sold out, I was like, oh, should we add another? And then we sold that one out too. Like that's insane. And so it did feel like I was like expecting to like do this for a couple years and like it grow really slowly, you know,
Sure.
and be like really grassroots and really having to push to get people to care about it. But that's what's so powerful about the adoptee community. That we have so much support and so much passion for each other and I guess our stories. And so I guess I totally did feel this is so much bigger than me, and that's a lot of pressure to drive this thing that I guess got way more attention than I was anticipating.
Yeah.
I was expecting to like really be chilling with it.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it's become a little overwhelming because it's so big.
It's been a bit overwhelming, but
it's kind of a global thing.
yeah. But I also need to like hone it back and be like, okay, in the grand scheme of things, I'm talking about it maybe as if it's like popped off. It has become this biggest thing in the world. Like, not necessarily, but like within our community at least, like, I don't know. It feels quite like a meaningful project.
100% meaningful. We talk about this year. People talk about the film fest like it's existed for 100 years.
I love that.
Like,
oh my God,
that's
I love
the thing.
hearing that.
And
That's
like
awesome.
the what, like you being like, I'm gonna make this and like we're gonna do this, with no expectation other than
Yeah.
I want to get a bunch of filmmakers in a room and we'll all watch each other's films.
Yeah.
And to not only accomplish that base level goal, but to then sell out 2 shows in your first year, which would lead to a number of virtual screenings, other pop-up events throughout this past year,
Sure.
to then a whole week of shows
Yeah.
in year 2 is truly remarkable. And I
Thanks.
totally agree. Like, when something happens in our community, for better or worse, we care.
We're gonna know
We
about
care.
it.
Yeah, and we're gonna have thoughts and opinions about
We're
it.
tight like that.
And like almost universally, this has been something that people have looked at in a positive manner for our community, because you have done a great job of curating, as we've talked about. There are no cameras, but I'm gesturing around your apartment, of curating an experience for people in our community to be seen at all different levels.
Thank
Because
you.
I think when I think about the audience last year, very diverse, a bunch of different people came, and I think that's what you saw reflected in the films.
Right.
And I think that's what we're looking for, is can we find accurate, adequate representation for who we are as individuals,
Yeah.
that then is also part of our communities that we're a part of.
Totally. I mean, our moderator for the first Q&A we did on Sunday said a really wonderful thing in that, like, you know, our community online, right, has really taken off, and we've had some organizations that have been around for so long. But I feel like this is a really, like, we're in a real renaissance of adoptee community, online and in person. At least in New York City, I do feel like we're unique in that, like, adoptee community is, like, so accessible here and vast, which isn't really the case maybe in other cities, like even London or LA. It looks very, very different than New York. It's very fragmented and kind of underground still.
Sure.
In that, like, importantly and understandably, there are different fragments of, like, Chinese adoptees, Korean adoptees,
different segments and sections.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely. Like South American adoptees. And what was really important to me about the film fest is that we tried to make it as inclusive as possible in regards to our films and in regards to our community. Like, this is for anyone who identifies as an adoptee or former foster youth, in hopes that while you may not have the exact story that you're seeing depicted on screen, you're going to be able to see yourself in some way or another in at least one of the films that we show. And so I think that's what I love so much. Like, I want to create an adoptee community with this festival that feels open to literally all of us, which I don't think we see a lot of, you know? So that's been really cool. I feel like I've learned so much about our community in its vastness, and in our multiplicities through the film fest, in areas where I don't identify. So it's been awesome, rewarding in that way.
Yeah, I love it. What feels different this year than last year?
This year, I'm, at least in this current show period that we're in, we're doing this first week in New York where we have 5 in-person shows, one online, virtual, and then we're going to LA in 2 weeks to finish off with a shorts program, which we didn't do last year, so that's fun. It feels different in that, at least during the show period, I'm way more present. Last year was, right, this crazy experiment that just felt like it took off and was kind of out of control, out of my hands, where I didn't know what I was doing and everything was new. And now that we've have at least 1 year under our belt now, like, I'm like way more present than I was last year. I felt like I was running around like a headless chicken last year, not knowing where up was. And this year I'm able to really, like, sit with what we're doing and take it in, which feels really lovely. And I'm actually, like, excited, whereas last year I felt just like dread of, like, don't fuck this up. You can't.
You can't, and you did not. You have created.
Thank you.
You have created. You've created something truly, truly remarkable. I think I said that already, but I couldn't think of a
Appreciate it.
better word because when it comes to things that we need in our community, there are still too few of whatever that might be. And the more remarkable things we can come across, the better we are for it. And we are better as a community because of the work that you've done to make this thing happen and to
Right.
bring this to life.
Right back at you. Truly.
Well, I appreciate you. This is not about me. All right. So the last thing to kind of take us out of here is I did not realize when I was coming out here originally that this was going to be an election period.
It's election day.
It's election day as we sit here on day 2 of the film festival, day 3, whenever it is.
Yeah,
it's
like
the
day
film
2,
festival in the
yeah.
middle of the film festival.
Yeah.
And a big election is happening
And
here
I
in New
didn't
York.
know that when I booked the fucking dates for the show either.
It happens, but I think it's fitting. I think it is fitting.
Right. There's
Especially-
actually. Sorry, you
Go
go.
ahead.
No, you go.
No, you go. You say.
There's a photo of Zoran Mandami in Caveat, which is our venue
Oh,
for the film
yep.
festival, and we found it the other day. It wasn't there when we were there last year, and so I'm really excited to be able to cheer him on in a space where he's been.
Yep.
But to, keep an eye on the election and hopefully be able to announce it like during our showtime. I don't know. The election ultimately ends at 9 p.m.
Yeah.
We're going to be there until 11:30. But yeah, go Zoran.
Go Zoran.
Yeah.
I'm not from here. I can't vote here. Didn't vote. We didn't have any elections going on municipally in Indiana. But I bring it up because I think it is very fitting that we are here in the middle of an event that is meant to drive, change, and rewrite the narrative of our community. In that it is happening, year 2 is happening in a moment that could very well mark the beginning of a new narrative being written, not just for New York City, but potentially for all of us all over the globe. I think it's very fitting that these things are happening at the same time.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
I feel very privileged to be here in this city while it's happening. Both of these things are happening. And so I want to ask you, as a New Yorker yourself, as an adoptee, as a community member, but more importantly, a community leader, and as somebody who is standing in the middle of this narrative changing moments, what would you want to say to the person out there who is writing their 6, 7 core values, core memories, things that they are trying to figure out and find in their life right now, feeling isolated, feeling alone, looking for the North Star? As somebody who's with all the context of the moment now and everything that you're doing, have done, and will continue to do, what would you say to that person?
Well, I think that it's understandable why you're there because the world's shit. And I've been there too. I would say that it feels overwhelming at times in this political climate because there's so much to care about. There's so many issues that deserve and need our attention and support and advocacy. And I've been really lucky to be able to concentrate my advocacy into a project that I really care about, that means a lot to me. I created the film festival because I really wanted it to exist. The community piece has been just the icing on the cake, but has been a fundamental part of why I'm okay, So I would say that follow what you want to see, and then find like-minded people who care about it as well, as niche as it may be, because I promise you that they're out there in multitudes. And you will find it. We live in a beautiful, like, right, the positive of social media is that it is so easy to connect, which so many adoptees have taken advantage of in their
Yep.
journeys. So I feel really fucking lucky to have gotten to live in this time where it's so accessible. If you want to find it, you can find it. So however niche it is, just really hone in and concentrate your passion, because it's been a really helpful survival mechanism for me when I feel really overwhelmed of like, I just want to help everyone right now. I want to advocate for everything. But I've also been in moments where I've burnt out from that hardcore,
Yep.
in 2020, like absolutely burnt out. And so this feels more sustainable, and it will get better. You just have to find like-minded people who care about it as well.
Find your people.
Find your people.
I found one of my people in Alex Mann.
On Clubhouse, and I'm so grateful for that.
Clubhouse. And shout out to Lindsay Geyer.
Shout out
Also
Lindsay.
one of those people.
Yeah.
All right, we got a film festival to get to.
Hell yeah, let's go.
Let's go. Alex is awesome. I just can't say enough about the work and the intentionality and the compassion that she has put in to the film fest, and it really shows through in the way that the community shows up now for these past 2 years. It's been truly a truly remarkable, amazing thing to experience. So congratulations, Alex. Congrats to the whole team you have over there helping you. If you're listening to this, there's still an LA show. So if you're out in LA, grab your tickets to that. That's on the 20th. I believe the majority of the filmmakers for the shorts are based in LA. So if you get to go out there, you'll have an opportunity to meet the majority of the filmmakers. So that's cool. And then if for some reason you are unable to attend in person, they post the films for viewing for an entire calendar year afterwards. All you got to do is buy a ticket. I think it's $30. Well worth it for, 10 shorts, 3, 4, 5 features. Like, there's some really incredible films to check out. I personally need to look at the this will be for the fact check for next time. I personally need to look at the names of the films I can't remember. I just know that the one of the features, because she's adopted, really resonated. It emotionally impacted me. I thought that was a really incredible film. I really liked that one. And then all of the shorts were really amazing. There were a few in particular that really stood out to me. The one name that I am remembering for sure, which was tied for my favorite, is The Yellow Balloon. And it's a film by a Vietnamese adoptee, and it depicts a kinship adoption, which I feel like is something we don't see depicted very often. So just the way creatives and the creators and the filmmakers and the people who do things like this, express story in this way, is just it floors me. It is incredible. It is I can't wrap my head around it sometimes because it's so beautiful and wonderful. The storytelling is amazing, but the cinematography and the level of production, out of this world. And to know that there are members of our community who are creating in this way, it's very awesome. So thank you, Alex, for having me out. Thanks for sitting down and being my first guest on the podcast. I know it was a special one. It was kind of unplanned, but we did it, and a fantastic conversation. I hope you all enjoyed the conversation, and I will be releasing the full. So what y'all got, I think, is like roughly 45 minutes or so. There's about 20, 30 minutes that didn't make it into the episode. That's going to be for our paid subscribers on Substack. So that tier is currently turned off. That's going to get turned back on in December. And starting in December, you will be able to receive the full unedited interview with any guests that I have. So each episode or each time I have a conversation with a guest, it usually is much longer than 30 to 40 minutes. So in an effort to continue to give back to y'all who are supporting me, I want to be able to share these full conversations, because while relevancy might be the main reason why a part of the conversation doesn't make it into an episode, doesn't mean that it's not worth hearing and sharing. So be on the lookout for that. In the meantime, though, as I wrap us up really quickly, this is our table notes section. I realize we've only had one of them, and it was I realized that we've only had one. So the table notes, again, it's just a place like you're doing our quick wrap up. I want to do a quick fact check of anything from previous episode, from the previous episode that might need to be talked about and corrected. And then I'll give our question of the week. So I'm going to talk about that when we get to that. But first off, fact check. So in episode 1, I mentioned how National Adoption or Adoptee Awareness Month started, and I was unsure of who and when exactly it started. So I just want to drop 5 quick dates and some information about what happened in those dates, or what happened on those dates, just to set the record straight on National Adoption Awareness Month, National Adoptee Awareness Month. So in 1976, Massachusetts Governor Michael Dukakis established Adoption Week, which was meant to promote awareness about children in foster care who were seeking or needed adoptive families. And so it started at the state level, not even a federal thing. Massachusetts said, hey, let's figure out a way that we can make kids more adoptable, I guess. So 76, that's our origin point. In 1984, President Ronald Reagan would take it from the state to the federal level by proclaiming National Adoption Week in 1984. And so that's a week in November. I should have said that for 76. A week in November. And again, it takes it from the state level in Massachusetts to a federal level nationally, where everybody's celebrating this week in November as National Adoption Week. Still with the expressed goal of connecting children who need families together. 11 years after that, we're in the 90s now, President Bill Clinton would take the week and add 3 additional weeks to it, and make the entire month of November National Adoption Month. And again, this was still in furtherance of connecting children who, quote unquote, needed families or to be adopted with those families. So that's pretty much the timeline. And yeah, just wanted to clear that up because I was not sure. So technically we're starting in the 70s at the state level in Massachusetts. We go federal, national in 84, and we expand from a week to a month in 1995. That's your fact check. I don't think I have anything else, and I do think that there was something I wanted to fact check in this episode, but you'll get that next episode. All right. Before I go to the question of the week, I wanted to talk about what it was like to be in New York City when Zohran Mamdani was elected mayor of the city. Long story short, didn't realize at first that Election Day was going to be happening while I was in New York. And I was at the film festival the whole time during while while polls were open, and then when polls first closed. And I was sitting next to a friend. Shout out to Lindsay Geyer, and we were kind of one eye on the movie, one eye on the the internet. And when it was announced that when they called the race for Zoran, it was a feeling of elation. We then, because we had already watched Virginia, we had watched New Jersey. I think those were the races that have been called. Mickey Sherrill in New Jersey and Abigail Spanberger in Virginia, and including the other, like a clean sweep in Virginia. We'd already seen some victories. And Zoran winning felt like the cherry on top. When I left the film festival, so this is at Caveat. It's like, I don't want to say this the Lower East Side. I don't know. I don't know where I was at. Somebody correct me. Well, that'll be the fact check for next week. But when I left, as I walked out of Caveat, which is in a basement, I half expected to walk into a crowd of people just in jubilation. And I was really surprised when I walked out of the comedy club because it was quiet, but not an eerie quiet. It was like it actually did feel very celebratory. And what I mean by that is that it felt like the entire city of New York, I felt like all of New York City had let out a collective sigh of relief. Everyone was exhaling in this moment, and everyone was resting. It felt like, hey, we can take a couple hours to rest. And I was riding back in my Lyft and felt really inspired by that. I felt really hopeful because of that. Not that we didn't need to be out in the streets celebrating. We 100% could be, and I know that there were people out across the city celebrating. I'm just saying that I think that walking into the calm, especially coming off some really like hyper emotional films, it was, I don't know, it was what I needed to see and experience as I was coming back to Indy. And so the reason I'm sharing this and taking up way too much time is that right now in Indianapolis, we are in the throes of figuring out who we are as a city and who we want to be leading us. And the people of Indianapolis have been making their voices heard. Actually, the people of Indiana have been making their voices heard. But in addition to everything that's been going on across the country, in Indiana, we've fought against and defeated Google in a data center battle. We've fought against... Actually, we didn't have any seated elections coming up, but we had referendums in different counties and suburbs and neighborhoods. And a lot of them had to do with funding schools or funding like public buildings or public institutions. And I think there were 10 of them, all but one passed. And this in spite of the fact that just, I think even 24 hours prior, our lieutenant governor, a Christian nationalist, Micah Beckwith, was out in full force in Avon campaigning to have people vote no on the referendum, because why would we want to make sure our schools are funded for our kids? We're seeing these victories here in Indianapolis, and it is building momentum to a point where we are primed for our own Zoran Mamdani moment. And I'm not really 100% sure how public some stuff is. So I'm not going to say any more until it becomes public. But I do believe we are well on our way towards that. And I am really, 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 really excited about the possibility of us being able to not just advocate for and yell about change, but to actually see it through. Oh, another way that Indiana has been winning, our governor, Mike Braun, called a special session of our General Assembly to redraw our maps mid-cycle. And the people said no. And because we've been saying no, the Republican legislators said they didn't have the votes. Now, that does not mean we are out of the woods, not by a long shot. But what it means is we Hoosiers are seeing what's happening around the world. We are taking note, and we're joining the fight. All right, so to wrap us up, question of the week. Really quickly, I realized that in my conversation with Alex, we didn't specifically address the question of the week, which is something I want to be able to do in the conversations that I'm having, in the episodes that I'm having. So, I just wanted to say that without directly addressing it, we did talk about some misunderstandings when it comes to adoption. And I think the thing that I find to be one of the most common misunderstandings is that adoption is binary. It's either good or bad. It's positive or it's negative. The bad, the negative, the less desirable side of the binary is also always positioned as the outlier. And because of this binary way of thinking, and because of this like marginalization of quote unquote negative experiences, we have been fighting against a narrative that divides us into one or two groups. And I think the binary is one of these big, big misunderstandings that people have about adoption outside of the community of adoptees, because we've just been positioning it as good or bad for a long time. You have a family or you don't have a family, stuff like that. And so one of the reasons the Film Fest is so important is because it does do the work of adding nuance, building conversation, creating curiosity, and dismantling this dominant narrative of binary when it comes to adoption. So we talked about it a little bit. Check back to the conversation, and you can find some of that stuff. But I do want to make sure that we're getting into the question of the week every week, so I'll try to be better about that. I'll try to be better. But as we close it out here, our question of the week for next week, or for this week, going into episode 3, is what do you wish people better understood about your experience? And this is for adoptees specifically. What do you wish people better understood about your adoption experience? Shout out to Rick Allen at Blasian Says on Instagram for putting these prompts together. He and a bunch of adoptees have been doing a lot of sharing so far this month, so go on there and check them out if you're looking to broaden your understanding of what it means to be adopted. And yeah, I appreciate y'all, everybody who tapped into episode 1. The response has been really incredible, so I'm super excited to keep doing this keep doing the show. I'm gonna run through some credits real quick. Everything about this podcast is done by me. I pulled some of these songs and sounds that you hear in the background from Pixabay. And we recorded our conversation with Alexandra Mann in her Greenpoint, Brooklyn apartment in New York. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see y'all next week, I guess.